Afternoon Talk on SAFM.
Right, so time to put somebody in the spotlight. Let me remind you, of course, we'll be in Grahamstown Friday. Well, I'll certainly be there Thursday night, and then Friday, and then Saturday, and then Sunday, doing the media show there from Sunday morning. So don't miss all of that. And hopefully, if you're around for the National Arts Festival, please come and say hi. It's absolutely critical that we say, at least we know who you're talking to. It's very, very important indeed. But of course, you can always drop me an email, ashraf@safm.co.za. Right, so in the spotlight, yesterday was Leanne Manners. Today is the someone said maybe she's a type of Miss South Africa, isn't it? Based upon what she said yesterday. But somebody who definitely is a Miss South Africa is Miss South Africa, Melinda Bam. So hi, good afternoon. I agreed with you as saying, well, welcome Miss South Africa, right? How often do people say that?
Quite often, but I always ask people to greet me and to address me by my name, because at the end of the day, I'm Melinda Bam first, and then Miss SA, and everything is kind of the marriage thereof.
I suppose so, but I mean, do you find it strange because some people may not even know your name, isn't it? Am I right?
Yeah. Of course, but there's a lot of people that know me as Melinda Bam that don't know I'm Miss SA yet. So it's kind of like trying to get people aware of both parts of my life at the moment.
Of course. Why aren't you wearing the Miss South Africa sash?
I have it here. Okay. Of course I do.
I'm not saying you must wear it, but I mean, do you have to wear it? Not all the time.
I definitely have it with me every single day.
What's the reason? Why do you have to keep it?
Because it's a symbol of everything that you represent, and I think it's something that shows authority as well. As soon as you walk into a room and people already recognize who you are, then that's a conversation starter. Okay,
indeed. So what's the most common question people ask you when they do know that you are a Miss South Africa?
Oh, my goodness.
And I'm not talking about this weekend. We'll talk about that later. But just in general.
The questions have varied. From the beginning of the year, people asked me, how did it feel when they called out your name on stage? Now it's just, how has your journey been so far? What have you been up to? I don't think. It's just the basic questions always. People want to know who you are, what you're up to.
But what are the misconceptions? Because we from the outside, people have an idea of what a Miss South Africa does. And they expect you to do certain things. And then when they sort of talk to you about it, you realize they actually don't know me. They have no idea who I am.
I went to a golf day this weekend, and it was a charity golf day with all the Springboks there. And the one asked me, so is this what you do on a daily basis? Do you just go around and pitch up at golf days? And I was a little bit offended by it, because if people don't do their homework, or they don't want to make effort to actually get to know you or to see what you're doing, then I don't think people can pass judgment on what you're doing at the moment or where they see you. But the things that I have been keeping myself busy with this year is definitely my project, and it's going so well, especially after this weekend. I've had overwhelming response, and people saying that they're supporting me in everything that I do. And now buying an extra month of my time, I know that is definitely some time that I want to spend on fixing Tutuzela and getting my project up.
Tell me about that project. What exactly do you do?
It's an orphanage in Alex, and it's a project that I've been busy with it from the beginning of the year. And they're losing their property by the end of the year, so we want to get them set up and running a new home towards the end of the year. So there's a lot of people involved, a lot of companies that have come up on board, CNBC Africa, BE2 Business, the Business of Empowerment Trust, and then Mnet Cares, Builders Warehouse. So there's a lot of people who have joined hands in making this project possible and to make it a big success. But by the end of the year, when I go to Miss Universe, it needs to be up and running. So I'm really definitely focusing on that at the moment.
And that support, would you say that's come because of your, I'm not even sure whether I should use the word endorsement, but basically because of your pleading as a Miss South Africa to say, I need your help?
I think people understand a little bit more about what you do when you start talking about what you do, and when you start speaking about your passions in life. And from the get-go, since my crowning, I said that this is what I want to do. This is what I'm passionate about. I don't only want to talk and say that I want to speak into people's lives. I don't only want to go to schools and talk to children, but I want to have something tangible by the end of the year. I want to be able to say that, well, this is the deliverable that I've had, and I've lived up to that and done even more. So I think that's one of the things that have been so important to me, and people have really respected me and really given me the most overwhelming support from the beginning of the year. I said that I wanted to work with Tutuzela, and people have really started flooding in and lending a hand wherever they can.
How do you get choose a project? Because is that a Miss South Africa project? Meaning that as part of your role that you have to choose a project and then sort of run with it, or is it something that you were going to do anyway?
As International, it gives you a lot of leniency to choose what you want to focus on during your reign. Bukang wanted to focus on teenage pregnancy. She went and she hosted a boot camp. She also had a literacy program that she built a library in her home province in Limpopo. So that was her focus for the year. Mine is also to get this orphanage off of the ground, to get their feet back on the ground again so they can expand. So it's something that's not only a short-term project, but it's something that can grow, that's sustainable over a long period of time as well. And also to work with different companies like Prime Media and Food and Trees to create a little bit more a sense of responsibility in everything that you do, every business that you run, every orphanage that you support, that it's not something that's short-lived, that every responsibility that you commit yourself to, you actually pull through and you create something that's sustainable, that at the end of the day shows that you're living with accountability.
Okay, we certainly hope so. Well, if you just tuned in, we are chatting to Miss South Africa, and whether you want to call her Miss South Africa or Melinda Bam, I think we'll call her that, both of them in fact. That's the woman in the spotlight for the next 45 minutes or so. So if you want to say hi, you certainly can do so. 0891 104207, 0891 104207. 34701 is the SMS number. It'll cost you £2. You can also tweet me, Ashraf Garda1, and you can also comment via Facebook as well. So all those sorts of ways. Now, I'll tell you what, as you know, the usual story, we put the guest in the profile. So if you want to talk about issues that clearly are, okay, sort of spill the water, not a problem. If you want to talk about issues here that certainly that you want to pick up, you certainly can do so. However, if you actually know Melinda pretty well and you want to say hi to her, if you're sort of related to her, I'm just trying to check if anybody's related to you wants to call in. If you certainly want to do that, well, you can say hi as well. What about somebody, and I'm taking a chance, what about somebody who was in school with Melinda Bam, primary school and high school, and even then you could say, hold it, this person has got some serious talent and he's upwardly mobile and will really, really achieve. Well, either way, I'll take your calls and we'll do that in a moment. 0891 104207. Right, let's get to the callers. Melinda, you need to probably put your headphones on. You two have it, in fact. Anyway, okay, 0891 104207. Faisal in Durban, hi.
Hello, Ashraf.
Yes, Faisal, go for it.
Ashraf, my question to your guest is, I heard on the news yesterday that she had refused to go to China for some reason. I'd like to hear her reasons, Ashraf.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks so much. Appreciate that one. Okay, so you're refusing to go to China?
No, I'm not refusing to go to China. I think there's a lot of perceptions and speculations around the reasons why I'm not going to Miss World. But if I can set the record straight, it's really a decision that I made that's a well thought through decision. It's a decision I made for the right reasons to really allow Ramona to also go. I want to use the energy that I have now to focus on Titizela and to focus on Miss Universe by the end of the year.
Okay, because for a second I thought that the quarter referred to sort of you having a cultural boycott of China. It has nothing to do with that.
No, not
right?
at all. I actually spent 6 months spent 6 months in China last year that I did modeling there, and I worked in Hong Kong as well, and I've got family that live in China. So I must say I've come to appreciate the Asian market.
You have reason to go there. Okay, let's get this out of the way then. You're the Miss South Africa, and you take part in as Miss World as the Miss South Africa winner,
yes,
as well as Miss Universe, right?
Yes.
We have two competitions that you can take part in, and you've chosen not to use the one, not to go for the Miss World in China. What are the reasons?
The reasons are something that we cannot actually openly discuss. Working with Miss South Africa, it's not only a personal brand, but it's also a brand managed by a corporate. And I think there's a lot of things that aren't supposed to be public information. But any decision that I make, people have chosen me to be Miss SA, and they've done so in respect of knowing who I am and the character that I've also had. So they must trust me in this decision that I've made as well, knowing that it's not something scandalous. Otherwise, I still wouldn't have the Miss SA title.
Well, you see, that's the problem, that because there's no reason, obviously there's speculation. So let me run through the speculation. I mean, I'll pick up the report, and it talks about your sort of wild days with FHM. I'll pick up probably the City Press with something similar. Someone says you have HIV, others says you're pregnant. There's just so much. I mean, have I missed anything else? Because there's probably a whole lot more, right?
Oh, there's someone that commented on Twitter and said that I might be a transvestite contestant and all sorts of things like that. But I think, given the reasons and the press release that it has gone out, people said that it's for personal circumstances. But I want to clarify and say it's for personal. It was a personal decision, and it's one that is rightfully mine to make as well. And knowing the position that I have as a Miss SA, I will make no decision if it jeopardizes Miss SA as a brand, and I will make no decision if it isn't in the best interest of the brand. So people must know that the decision I made was something to focus on what my passion actually really is and what I know I can do well in. But the speculations and things are hindering me from actually focusing on that what I want to do now.
But I mean, so let's just touch on this for a second. So you're not going to actually give us the reason.
The reason is something that is it's a personal decision, a strategic move that I'm entitled to make as well. And I think people must stop focusing on the decision that I made now, but know that there's still a representative for South Africa actually going. Ramona Moodley, she's one of my best friends, my first runner-up.
Would the strategic reason be that it's very unlikely that a Miss World wins the Miss Universe as well? Because I'm trying to think...
that's something that can't happen.
It can't happen, is that right? They would want to sort of... Well, I suppose once you win the one, you can't...
I think that's general knowledge. You can't win both competitions.
So then it would be that maybe the Miss Universe is more prestigious.
No, I wouldn't say that Miss Universe is more prestigious.
Would think so.
No, I don't think Miss Universe is more prestigious. I think it's your own decision to which pageant you want to align yourself with. And every Miss SA in the past has chosen one that they want to align themselves with even more. I just think, this year I don't want to go and have fun. I want to win Miss Universe. So I think.
So in fact, you are saying you want to align yourself more with Miss Universe and hope that you'll crack.
Well, definitely. I in my decision in saying that I'm not going to go to Miss World and saying that I will go to Miss Universe, it's definitely something that I want to win. It's not that I am dismissing what Miss World represents. I think that Ramona she's absolutely cut out for it as well, and I think it's a nice decision to be able to say that I've got my full trust in my first princess in sending her and knowing that South Africa can have 2 crowns actually.
Okay, well, let's hope that certainly happens. Melinda Bam with me in the spotlight. 0891104207. You see, now this is one of the examples. Nokolo saying, well, why didn't she come out about what she did sooner or before she became Miss South Africa? Because now it's catching up with her. So that's the type of speculation. I mean, I understand it's as broad as that. Okay, why didn't she come out with what she did sooner or before she became Miss South Africa? Because now it's catching up with her.
I think
now the point, I'm not saying you can answer that, but can you understand that because your reasons are pretty vague? They may not be. I'm not saying they're not solid. They may be absolutely solid, but because they're vague and non sort of committal, people will speculate.
I understand that, and I understand that completely. But I knew in making this decision that you can never bluntly state out the facts. And I'm willing to live with that as well. But I know that the decision I made was a responsible one. And I just hope that people will be able to set this aside and actually really focus on giving the support that Ramona needs, because she is representing South Africa. She's also representative for South Africa, as I would expect to have had the support of everyone going to Miss World. She's expecting it as well, because she's still doing that. And I know that the answers can't be more clear cut, and you can't move away from a vague answer. I'm sorry, I'm under contract for certain reasons as well. But people must realize that it goes further beyond this. It's not a scandal. It's something that's actually noble.
So it's a good reason, not a bad reason.
It's a good reson made for the right decision.
If it's a good reason, why don't you tell us? And I don't mean just me. I mean the whole of South Africa.
I actually can't.
All right. In the meantime, you're going to live with the fact that, because I mean you know this now, that people will speculate forever.
I do understand that. I think that in light of the end of the year and with every other rain that will come after this year, people will become enlightened as well. I think people will start realizing that the industry is something that is more complex. It's not something that is just black and white as well. That there's dynamics that people won't understand necessarily, but that certain decisions will be made with the right sense of accountability and the right sense of responsibility as well, and that they need to entrust us with that.
Okay, but you're saying we will find out later. This is what you're telling us.
I'm sure that people will start understanding when I have my Miss Universe crown.
All right, when you have the crown, indeed. Melinda Bam with me in the spotlight. That is Miss South Africa. If you want to say hi, there's lots of people tweeting and Facebooking as well. But if you want to call in as well, that's great too. 0891 104207. By the way, JJ Skuman, the fashion designer, who was a guest here about a month ago, I think. So he's in China right when he says hi, and he says you're great to dress.
He's absolutely amazing to work with. You have no idea. JJ is probably one of the biggest sweethearts in the industry. Every time I phone him, he answers the phone and he says, "Good evening."
Okay.
It doesn't matter what time of day it is, but he says, "Good evening." But he's an absolute pleasure to work with. And I mean, during my reign, I've worked with the most amazing people, different designers, different media representatives, different celebrities.
How has that been for you? Because I mean, let's put it this way: you're not a no-name brand before December 2011. You're not like an unknown person, but relatively, the jump is like almost if you've known 10% before, and 10% is probably 9% more than most people know anybody else. And the jump goes from 10% to 100% like overnight. How do you manage that?
I think it is overwhelming at first, because now you're in a place where you realize the responsibility you have being in the spotlight and being a public figure as well. And I know that comes with an additional set of responsibilities. Signing up for Miss SA, I think you definitely know that you're supposed to be a role model. And if you don't think that you're up for that, then you shouldn't be there. If you don't think you can live with the demands of being a Miss SA, and if you can't live with the regime and with all your daily commitments and your routine, I don't think you should sign up for it. We actually had a workshop about a week and a half ago, and it was amazing. We had 600 girls coming in, and everyone just hanging at your lips and wanting to know how your experiences
These are Miss South Africa
were.
wannabes, I presume, right?
and future entrants. And I mean, it was amazing just to see how curious they are about what the reality is around being a Miss SA, because people realize that you place a Miss SA on a pedestal and you create this big image of what you think Miss SA represents, and ultimately it does. But the practicality of it sometimes is something that is sometimes hard to live up to. The routines aren't always easy.
What's the hardest thing to live up to as a Miss South Africa?
I think keeping
you're not the president of the country.
Keeping up with your diary. I think keeping up with your diary is probably the biggest thing, because sometimes you have 5 events a day, or you visit 3 different cities, 5 different cities in a week. And I must say, that sometimes gets you living out of your bags and having to drag your big suitcases into your boot. And I think people have started realizing that a Miss SA is someone that came as a complete outsider from the industry. She will always be a newcomer, but it will always be someone that kind of brings in a new perspective into the industry as well, because every year a girl will handle everything differently, and she will have a new focus, and she will bring a new flair to the competition. And I must say, I've been overwhelmed this year. I absolutely love what I do. There hasn't been one day that I've regretted being Miss SA. And I think
has it come up to expectations?
Yes.
Meaning that, it's like buying a new car, and you wish you had this new car, or you want an iPad, or whatever it may well be, and then you got it. Okay, fine, it's okay.
I think it's far exceeding my expectations, actually, because I think I expected it to be a case where you'll be not babied a little bit more, but they've allowed me to be really independent this year. And being in China for 6 months and being completely out of my comfort zone and living in a country where they don't speak your language, it's not the same culture, they don't have the same I wouldn't say the same values that we even have. Coming back, I came back with such a bigger sense of appreciation for what South Africa really is. And taking on the role of a Miss SA, knowing that I'm one person representing all of what South Africa is in the country I love.
That? Yeah,
it's amazing. I think it's an absolute privilege and an honor. Going to Miss Universe, or going to international pageants, or going overseas to Paris earlier on this year, knowing that you are the face of South Africa. And people will look at you and they will see the kind-hearted people that we are, the warm people that we are. Because I think that's one of the things that I realized South Africans really identifies us as South Africans.
Because in a strange way, I mean, the First Lady title normally goes to the President's wife, unless, of course, the President is a female. Then it would be a different thing. Right? Maybe the Queen is a good example of that. But in many ways, that Miss South Africa, so in this case yourself, you are the First Lady, isn't it? In that sense, for the year.
A few people have actually called me First Lady, and I feel very flattered about that. But it's a nice feeling to have, to know that people, it's not something that you choose. It's something that you get chosen for. I ultimately believe that Miss SA is a calling. It's not something that you can just sign up for and you will wrongfully actually get the title. I think it's really something that you get called to do, and that gets shaped and formed by the end of the year. You'll actually look back and you'll see the actual reason for being a Miss SA.
Okay. By the way, I bumped into Gavin Koppel, who's the CEO of Shout South Africa.
Yes.
Danny K is dead now, not even about an hour ago.
Okay.
And he promised he'll be listening, but he said I should tell you hi. And he's very supportive of all the things you've done. I've seen he's tweeted about you as well.
Yes, he did.
In the light of the storm. So there you are, good support from him, right? How your thoughts then on a serious note, because I'm looking at what he does with Shout South Africa, where people expect almost you to. Well, you're not the politician, you're not the president of the country, but you're almost there to sort of, you're seen as, on the one hand, a pretty face, but also as this fairy godmother who can fix up the whole country in 1 year. They sort of judge you by that, to say, these are your targets, did you fix it up? Otherwise, well, you're not a good Miss South Africa. True?
I think that's true. I think if you promise certain things that you should live up to it. I think that's with anyone that wants to live in the public eye, that needs to live a life of accountability as well. And I think there should be more leaders that actually do that. I think with working with Lead SA and working with the project that I am, and working with Reach for a Dream and different charities, you just realize that you are one person. You cannot change the whole world. But the way you go about doing the things that you do, and the way you speak about your passions, can enlighten other people to actually awaken theirs. And that's the only way that you can actually make a bigger difference than what one person can actually physically do.
Okay, there's a question from Lucille who says, why did you decide to enter Miss South Africa, the pageant? What makes you different from other beauty queens? This is like a judge asking you the final question. In other words, what are you passionate about to change right here in South Africa right now? What are your views on educating our most precious commodity, our youth? Lots of questions. You've got about a minute to answer all of that.
Oh my goodness, okay. You have to remind me of all the questions.
All right, the first one is, why did you enter?
Why did I enter Miss South Africa? Okay, it's something that I didn't think of doing is from a very, very young age. It's something that I thought about a couple of times. People reminded me growing up that it's something that I should consider doing. But I only at first decided to enter Miss South Africa when I was in China. And I realized how much I miss my country, how much I love my country, how much I missed being surrounded by people who are warm and inviting. And going back, I realized that a role of a Miss SA ultimately is to be a brand ambassador for South Africa and to be a spokesperson for everything that we represent. And being in China, I realized that I was already that. You can't sign up for Miss South Africa and expect yourself to only become a Miss South Africa once you have the crown. It's something that you're born to be. It's something that you already are long before you wear a sash or a crown.
Is it like a princess where you're born into royalty? I mean, is that what you're saying?
I wouldn't say born into royalty, but I think you are born with a certain sense of patriotism about everything that you represent and everything that you love.
Okay, we're going to talk lots more to Miss South Africa, the ambassador for the country, I suppose, in many ways, Melinda Bam. I'll pick out a couple more SMSs. There's a few that I'll read in a second, 34701. That will cost you 2 rands. Otherwise, you can always call in 0891 104 207. The Miss South Africa. So let's see. There's some other things that we need to talk about there. Are you dancing as I talk? Just checking.
Yes, I'm in a good mood.
Okay. So maybe this is you. You've probably answered it to a degree. Pauline from New Germany saying, what were you doing in China for 6 months, Melinda?
I did modeling there. It's
work, right?
Yes, I was working in China, in Guangzhou, and I traveled across China and to Shenzhen, to Shanghai, to Beijing. It was an incredible experience, and I must say it's a completely different market than what we're used to in South Africa, where it's more manufacturer to retailer, where South African modeling market is more focused on retailer to consumer.
Indeed. I want to ask you, what have you learned from China? Right, Melinda Bam with me now. Melinda, we had a chat before you actually walked in about what can South Africa learn from China. We're talking about a business thing for the first half an hour. So your thoughts there on that one?
What South Africa can learn from China, I think there's a lot that China can actually learn from South Africa.
Oh, okay.
I think that we've got a community that's really understood the value of actually supporting local industries. And I think what South Africa can learn from China then is that they only support what's theirs. And I don't think it's a selfish decision to make, but if you want to have an economy that grows within South Africa, that you have to be able to have enterprises that build into South Africa and that can enrich the economy in the long term as well. So I think, people need to realize that they have to look around themselves and see the businesses they can help before they start looking outward.
I understand you spoke Northern Sotho in school.
I had
Still
it as
do?
a class, but no, I can't remember anything of it.
So you need to pick it up again.
I can say, please put petrol in my car.
Do you want to try it?
Chela ya diranta chele somufela.
Okay.
Cheers.
You're saying it very
Something.
fast. Okay.
I know.
I hope it's not.
I remember still rehearsing that because we had to do, we had to have a conversation in class. And I remember still ranting up and down and dancing in my living room trying to remember this. And at the end of the day, it sank in and I can't forget it. But I want to have a deeper understanding of the language. I don't want to be able to say a phrase and not really know what
that sums
means
it
what.
all up. Accept it, yeah. What for you? I mean, you're in a position where you have a voice now.
Yeah.
So the country listens to you. And that's what Miss South Africa, besides all the other things that we spoke about, having the clothing and the designers and the so-called pretty faces, what you really have is you have a platform as an ambassador and you become an automatic thought leader. So what for you are probably the three biggest issues that you'd want to get off your chest right away?
The three biggest, first issue that I'd like to address is just I had the opportunity to speak at Investec the other day for Women's Property Investment Group, and the issues that they have was that women still work in a male-dominant industry, and I had to go speak to them about the power of being a woman. And it's something that has actually really struck heart with me since the age of, since I was in matric. And I made a painting in my matric final that addressed that people, women especially, they sacrifice so much of being a woman, their femininity and being soft and being beautiful because they think they need to fit into a man's world, when it's actually both of ours and that the one complements the other. And I think that's definitely one of the things that I've really voiced in a lot of conferences that I've spoken in, is that people need to realize and women need to realize that their strength lies in being a woman. I'm never going to be as good as a man trying to be a man. I will always be my best being feminine.
So don't try and be that or live up to the man. Be whatever you are. Know that as a woman you're quite special. I mean, by the way, we always and often repeat this phrase about the Islamic saying, heaven lies at the feet of your mother.
Definitely.
It's probably one of the great sayings that just tells you the strength is the women, and we sometimes don't understand that, right? Anything else you want to bring up?
I think another thing that I want to bring up, and it's something that I've actually been asked a lot on Twitter now, is that people kind of, if they don't understand how to get involved in certain things in the community, they kind of want to withdraw from it, just because they feel a sense of not knowing how to get involved. People often just kind of bounce it off the bat then and say that, okay, well, they don't know what to do, they don't know where to do it, so they'll rather just stay and stick with what they're doing now. People can always make a bigger difference if they actually just ask. People should not really refrain from wanting to spread their knowledge and to spread the understanding of what's going on around them and focusing on what they want to do, because at the end of the day, one day, those bridges you'll need.
But interesting, I had a chat with a lady on the Sunday media show that I do who's been dubbed the Oprah of New Zealand, okay? And now she was saying that the one thing people don't do enough of is they just don't ask. Even if they want to meet the most important person supposedly in the world, ask the taxi driver, because he'll tell you, I don't know, but my cousin works in so-and-so department, and put you onto that person. How important is that? I mean, just asking so that somebody can help you lead you on the right direction.
I think you'll be amazed when you actually start asking, because there are so many people that are willing to help and that are willing to share what they know. Industry leaders, I've identified mentors in my life as well that have helped me throughout this year. And I think a lot of the lessons and things that I discover along and going through my year, there's different challenges that come across and that cross my path that I learn from, but only because I'm willing to learn the lesson. I know that throwing myself in the deep end is going to be an opportunity for me to grow. If I look at myself a year ago, I will never ever have had the courage to go and speak at a corporate. I'll never have had the courage to go stand in front of an audience of 600 girls and think that I have something to share.
Although you could model, probably in front of bigger crowds, right? But it's different modeling and talking.
Oh, of course it is, because modeling is something that kind of secludes you, and it's only the face that you see. It's only face value that people will take up. But once you start opening up, and once you start sharing what you're actually about, and once you start sharing your passions in life and what your heart is about, people will learn the lessons that you've learned. I think one of the biggest things that I've learned is that you don't have to make all your own mistakes in life. There's enough people making mistakes around you that you can learn from their lessons as well. And of course, you're still going to make your own. But life is too short to say that I can rightfully make all my own mistakes and learn from them. You have to be willing to learn from others as well.
Indeed. There's some tweets. Well, Sia's wants to know, does she have a boyfriend? Predictable question, I would think. Is a Miss South Africa allowed to have a boyfriend?
No.
And which previous Miss South Africa does she look up to? That's interesting.
Which previous Miss South Africa?
Okay, so Miss South Africa can't have a boyfriend.
No, you can't have a
during the
boyfriend.
reign,
No.
Right? Okay.
No, that's. I think it's just. It brings back to the role of Miss SA being a strong and independent woman. As soon as you have someone by your side the whole time, it takes back from that independence that you have. You will most probably feel babied along the way. Going to functions alone, I stand there because I know I can. I stand there because I know I can do whatever I want to, network with whomever I want to, talk to whomever I want to. So I think it just draws back to the sense of being an independent role model, an independent
At that
woman.
time, fair enough, yeah. Okay, and who, in fact, do you admire as a former Miss South Africa?
I think I admire Joan Strauss. I had the opportunity to sit down with her early on in the year at the JMV Met, and to look at Miss SA from an outside perspective as well.
This is, of course, after you won Miss SA.
Yes.
Right, okay.
Looking at Miss SA from an outsider's perspective as well, you draw conclusions and you kind of paint this picture of who a person's supposed to be. And sometimes I think too often in life you get disappointed with some people that you meet and realize, okay, but it's all about the fame and fortune. And when you meet them, they're not willing to actually give you 2 cents of their time.
Well, what did she teach you in the chat that you had with her?
She just told me that there will be challenges, and whenever I come across them, that her door will be open. She taught me that you can be both a Miss SA and you can have the balance between the limelight, and you can have the balance between still being a businesswoman and still having the drive to take it further. Because to me, Miss SA is not a means to an end. It's a start of something greater. And she's definitely a living example of it. I mean, she's made such a tremendous success with all the companies that she's worked with. And I think that's something to admire. And with Karishni Naika, I mean, another fair example of that, the work that she's done with Netcare. She's not just a pretty face, that she is definitely, but to see that her words have carried her further, the plans that she made has bloomed into something far greater.
Okay. Who then are your mentors? Because you spoke about that earlier on.
Lou McLaren from BET, the company that's helping me with my project this year. I actually had a meeting with him last night, and we spoke about the journey that I will want to have with them in the future as well, going far beyond Tutuzela, and knowing that the calling that to be involved with the charity and with such a great vision that they have for the company, and to learn from it. I think from someone who's involved with BET,
of course,
who's working with the African, what do you call it? OHI.
Okay, we'll get to that in just a second. Not a problem.
I think,
now you studied or you've completed a degree in marketing?
BCom Marketing Communication Management last year.
So you need to listen to the media show I do on a Sunday, because that's the type of show that we talk to people like yourself.
I will.
It's all about marketing, branding, advertising.
I think
what's your plan then? I mean, in terms of post.
People say that
Miss South Africa.
People say that you don't. I'm not using my degree this year. Why are you partaking in a beauty contest when you're actually literate and you've got a degree and you've well educated? But I think I'm using my degree in the most practical form, because I'm my product, I'm my brand, and I market myself.
Do you understand that now? Because I mean, the truth is, you are a brand. I mean, we've chatted about this often, that people they don't understand, even the hawker on the street is a brand, because he's known for something.
I think some of the
people who don't understand that who actually lose out.
I think some of the strongest brands in society are personal brands, actually. If you look at Barack Obama, you look at Nelson Mandela, everything is a personal brand. It's something that you can see what they've aligned themselves to, and decisions that they made across their path to have a clear brand identity. And it's definitely the choices that I'm making this year.
Who's your favorite current South African politician? Somebody in Parliament right now.
In Parliament right now. Not wanting to be controversial, but Fikile Mbalula.
The Minister of Sport.
Yes. I had the opportunity to sit down with him early on in the year as well.
At his foundation as well last week, yeah?
And I was at the launch of his foundation. And
why?
Why was I there?
Why do you think his Why is he your favorite?
Because he's really actually using his role and his resources to do something positive. And I don't say that the others aren't, but being part of it and understanding the dynamics behind it and knowing the mentorship program that he has with the foundation, I think it's an incredible vision, and I really commend him.
I thought it's maybe, since you're a Blue Bulls fan, the point he made when the Boks went to the World Cup, they didn't win it, but his message was very clear, Khan Murhala or something along that line, which I think struck a chord with every one of us, because he spoke a language that we all understood, isn't it?
Yes,
just simple stuff
definitely
to say,
does.
well, give them a hiding. They didn't take his advice, but okay, fair enough. Yeah. Who would you? We've got about 3 minutes to go. Who would you like to take out to lunch? I mean, people. I don't mean family. People that you haven't yet taken out to lunch. Who would you like to take out to lunch and pick their brains?
Picking someone's brain at the moment, I think Oprah Winfrey. I know it might sound cliche, just being a leader in her industry and being such a wise woman and everything that she's achieved. People will often slam me if you say something that sounds like a cliche, but I think she has reached the platform and the position where people can actually regard her as a cliche, because everyone is in the same mouth about
And
it.
by the way, Leanne Manners said yesterday that when she was on Morning Live, she was asked to say, would you like to interview Oprah Winfrey? And she said, what do you mean, would I like to? I would do anything to do that. So clearly that's
Everyone
amongst
is
her
in the
career
same mind
highlights.
about it.
Absolutely.
I
Okay,
think-
that's the one. The other 2 or 3?
Other 2 or 3.
But I'm going to rush you. We've got about a minute or so to go.
I would definitely like to take out John Lee. He's one of the directors at International.
Okay.
And he's really been a mentor, and I know that the vision that he has for the department that he's running as well, I think it's incredible. He's a very strict man, and he knows what he wants, and he knows how to manage the people around him accordingly. And I think if you look at someone who's made a success in business, that you have to identify certain people and actually pick their brain.
Of course. And of course, you've got your marketing ideas that you can tap on their brains to develop your own strategies as well long term. What about, is there a book you'd recommend that we read?
A book at the moment, I'm reading Lioness Arising by Lisa Bevere. It's a Christian book, and it's something that's really empowered me to go and speak at conferences and go and speak to women. And it's something that really, it speaks to the heart and to your character. There's a lot of things that are factual in life, and there's a lot of life lessons that you can learn, and a lot of things that I learned in studying marketing. But I want something that's going to enrich me as a person at the moment.
So it's got to be authentic as well.
It's got to be authentic. It's got to really strike a chord with you.
Well, what's the one thing about you that we don't know, the country doesn't know, that you just love to share because nobody has ever asked you?
I think people have probably asked me most questions. But as the one lady in the SMS earlier asked, she asked what makes me different. And I think the thing that makes me different is something that people will never be able to pinpoint. Because I think as soon as you can pinpoint what makes you different, you're not authentic anymore.
So it's for you to know, right? Lastly, a quote that we can all take home.
A lesson that my grandfather learned me, that he taught me, is that you're not a product of your circumstances. You're a product of your choice.
You're a product of your choice.
You're a product of your choice. Every single day you make that choice.
Okay, here's the Miss South Africa who's made a choice not to take part in the Miss World. She wants to go for Miss Universe. We'll see how right she is. Thanks so much, Melinda, for allowing us to put you in the spotlight.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. There you are. Melinda Bam. Bye. It's a pleasure. There you are. Melinda Bam. Bye. It's a pleasure. There you are. Melinda Bam. Bye. It's a pleasure. There you are. Melinda Bam. Bye. It's a pleasure.